Have a good friend of mine that I've known for many, many years. This is my friend Ken Craig. He is an accomplished man. He's a Renaissance man. Do you write poetry?
Nothing I would share.
But he writes poetry. So I'm not a Renaissance man because I don't do any of that stuff. But this is a guy that has done all kinds of wonderful things. I've worked with him in some church callings that we both have worked together on. He works with an organization, Latter-day Saint Charities, LDS Charities, that we use to be able to take some of the money that we give away in the charities to be able to help people with eyeglasses, food, as well as clean water and many, many other things. But he's also an accomplished author. He's the author of the book called Faith, Fatherhood, and Food. And if you get the book, you can actually see there's a mustard stain on the tie, which is pretty incredible. We're both from big families. I'm one of 10 kids. He's one of 7 kids. And he has 8 children and only 2 grandchildren. My mom and dad had 10 of us kids and over 70 grand and great grandchildren. And so this is a man that I'm so excited to have on with us. He and his wife, Katie, are just incredible. Their family is incredible. And they are making a huge difference out there. And so I want to talk a little bit about happiness and family life. And then we're going to come back for a couple other segments as well. So Ken, take it away.
Thanks, Tom. I'm honored to be here. I'm grateful to meet you guys and spend some time with you. Flattered that Tom would invite me on. Like Tom said, we've been friends. It's coming up on 10 years now. Can you believe that? We were in our 20s when we met.
Wow.
No, but I greatly admire Tom and LaDon and all they've done with this Success and Money Foundation. I can endorse them, knowing that really their whole motivation for doing this is to help people improve quality of life. And I love that mission. I admire all his energy and resources that he dedicates to that. So I endorse him completely to you. And I'm glad to come on today and talk a little bit about success in family life, happiness in family life. That has been my greatest source of happiness. I have had moderate success financially. I wish I had met Tom when I was much younger, as he mentioned earlier, and known this, the wealth formula. It would have been greatly beneficial in my life. And I am, as a father, like Tom said, my wife, Katie, and I have 8 children. And they vary in ages right now from 25 down to 9. So we're still in the trenches with children at home that still need much parenting and raising. And I'll tell you, I did not learn how to parent in school or to be a husband. I'm sure there are classes. I did not take any. This is, I think, something you learn through experience more than anything else. And so my wife and I have been around long enough. We've been married long enough now, it'll be 28 years this year, that sometimes young couples will come up and ask something like, hey, we watch your family. We see what that looks like. How do you do that? And we're always a little bit baffled because I think, I don't know that we know any secret sauce. I don't know that we know any, just do these 3 things and everything will work out great. But we have learned a few things along the way, and I'm happy to share them with you today. These are just a few things I jotted down that I thought, well, again, these aren't secret, but these have been some focuses of ours in our life that have certainly benefited in building our family culture and helping us to have a family that we feel is successful. I guess I want to break it down just into 3 areas. These are not new. You probably will hear these and go, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. But I can assure you that they've been a blessing and a benefit to us. Number 1, we try to consistently do the small and simple things. So we have a family dinner. We worship together, pray together. We spend time together. I don't buy into the quality versus quantity with that. Some people may say, well, I don't spend a lot of time with my family, but when I do, it's really impactful. I think quantity is huge here and kind of supersedes quality, because quantity will equal quality. When you are spending time together, there is opportunities for discussions and debriefing and asking questions of each other that kind of naturally, organically come up just by spending time together. So if you can invest the time then bonds form. So that is one of my biggest things that I can tell you is spending time together as a family and doing the small and simple things. It doesn't have to be, right, a trip across the world. It can be an evening in your home, or a walk, or any kind of adventure that you want to have together. The second thing is that we put a priority on relationships. We are a Christian faith, our family. We follow the old teachings of Jesus and that you can find in the New Testament, Matthew 22, about love thy neighbor. Well, there's no closer neighbor than the family that you're living with. And so put a priority on those relationships. I wanted to read a quote. This is from Marvin J. Ashton, who was a leader in our faith, and in my faith. And it says, he's talking about charity. He says, perhaps the greatest charity comes when we are kind to each other, when we don't judge or categorize someone else, when we simply give each other the benefit of the doubt or remain quiet. Charity is accepting someone's differences, weaknesses, and shortcomings, having patience with someone who has let us down, or resisting the impulse to become offended when someone doesn't handle something the way that we might have hoped. Charity is refusing to take advantage of another's weakness and being willing to forgive someone who has hurt us. Charity is expecting the best of each other. I think charity, compassion, forgiveness, being willing to ask and give forgiveness covers a myriad of sins. I think it is the lifeblood in a relationship. When you are willing to extend that kind of charity, you assume the best about each other. You're quick to forgive, quick to ask for forgiveness. I mean, I love nobody more than my wife, Katie, and but I've hurt her feelings. You know, she's hurt my feelings. You live in close proximity for decades. That's going to happen. We're all flawed, and so being willing to ask forgiveness and be forgiven is what keeps that relationship tender, sacred, strong. So those are absolutely. I love that my name is always safe with my wife, right? Even if we've had a disagreement and I head to work and she goes about her day, I know that she's not calling up friends and saying, you won't believe what Ken did today or how he hurt my feelings. She knows that we're going to work it out. You know, we love each other and we're on the same team. So that is a huge blessing in my life, knowing that our names are safe with each other. Also with our children, that this is that we're a team, right? It's not a mentality of, well, when you win, I lose. We celebrate each other's successes. We're happy for each other. Well, that's number two. Put a priority on your relationships. Love your neighbor, meaning your family, and have compassion and forgiveness. The third thing is we tell family stories. And this was a huge motivator for why I even wrote this book, Faith, Fatherhood, and Food. This comes from an article I read years ago. It was in the New York Times. And it said, it was an article called The Stories That Bind Us. It was written by Bruce Feiler. And he spent years meeting with families and scholars and experts. And this was everybody, he says, ranging from peace negotiators to online gamers to Warren Buffett's bankers. He said after a while, a theme arose that kind of surprised him. But he said, the single most important thing you can do for your family, maybe the simplest of all, develop a strong family narrative. So then he interviewed doctors Marshall and Sarah Duke, who had done some research in this area. And Sarah Duke works with children with learning disabilities. And she reported the ones who know a lot about their families tend to do better when they face challenges. The more children knew about their family history, the stronger their sense of control over their lives, the higher their self-esteem, and the more successfully they believed their families functioned. So decades of research have shown that the most happy families communicate effectively. And that doesn't just mean talking through problems, as important as that is, but talking also means telling a positive story about yourselves. Now, some family stories are, son or grandson, we started out with nothing and we built this empire. And some family stories are, well, we had it all and then we lost it all. But I think most family stories are, we've had good times and we've had bad times, and this is how we've navigated them. and they tell those stories. And knowing those stories, hey, hard things can come and I can still succeed. That strengthens an individual, a child's understanding of who they are, that they can succeed. It gives them confidence. And so I think sharing family stories, retelling those stories that are how they've influenced your family. So that's this book I've written, is kind of slice of life or personal essays about, this is an experience I had, or this is an experience our family had. This is how we navigated that. Some of them can be very funny. Our family likes to laugh together a lot. So being able to laugh at yourself or tell how something funny happened, even a hard thing can be funny. But being able to tell those stories and how you worked through them is hugely influential. They actually said, they actually found, Doctors Marshall and Sarah Duke created this "Do You Know" scale, and it had 20 questions for kids. And this is a great place to start with your children if you're wanting to learn, well, what kind of story should we be telling? Do you know how your parents met? Do you know where your mother grew up? Do you know where your father grew up? Do you know where some of your grandparents grew up? Do you know how your grandparents met? Do you know where your parents were married? Do you know what went on when you were born? Do you know the source of your name? Do you know some of the things that were happening in your family and in the world when your brothers or sisters were born? Do you know which person in the family you look most alike? And do you know which person in the family you act most alike? So these are the kind of questions that can kind of prompt you to say, this is information we should have on hand, and we can talk about this as a family, right? Around the dinner table or wherever. You're in the car, and kind of get those conversations going. I think the more you retell these stories and your children know them, it will impact them for good. These are three areas that I think are greatly beneficial for building a strong family narrative and building a culture that you want in your home of love, of forgiveness, and then focus on spending time together. I can't promise you that these will be the only things you have to do to have success in your family, but I can promise you that they will add to your success. And without them, I know my family wouldn't be successful, wouldn't be happy if we weren't building a foundation on these things, which includes our faith. Faith is the most foundational thing that we do together. So I'm excited to talk to you about my career and my career path, and how that's been a benefit and a blessing in my life, as well as some of these other principles that Tom was talking about, as far as philanthropic endeavors, and giving, which is right here, giving to your church or community, to any charity. This has been another huge part of our family success as well. Even before I knew about the wealth formula, I was grateful that I had that kind of tradition and that kind of focus in my life. So your career path and charity are two things that I'm excited to talk to you about in further segments. But thank you for listening. I'm grateful to have met you. If I come to your area, I plan on staying with your family. So please memorize my face, and we'll talk to you later.
And he's going to bring his kids too.
That's right. And grandkids. I've got 2 grandkids now.
Yeah.
I don't want to stay somewhere else. I want to stay with friends. So let's make that work.
So I want to thank Ken for this first segment. We talk about family. As you know, I have 2 special needs adult children now. And we found out that my son had autism when he was 2 years of age. Well, he just turned 34 last week. And so it's been a ride. It's been a ride. Good times, bad times. Your family, I've had some real serious health issues in my life. When I was 34 years of age, I had a heart attack. As they was wheeling me into the operating room trying to open up this artery, I looked over at my wife and wondered if I was coming back. And if I didn't come back, who's going to take care of this special needs child? Because he was very young. He was probably 3 or 4 when that happened. And so that's why we add so many pieces.
And this is something else that I admire so much about Tom. Those 2 things, your own health and having a special needs child, are hard things. But you would not know that these have been burdens for Tom and his family, because they have, in some ways, it has united you. It has created a culture of compassion, of caring for someone within the walls of their home. And so when this hard thing came, it was, you can be bitter when something hard comes along, or why me kind of pity. Or you can meet that with the narrative of, you know what, we have love in our home, we have love for each other, we're going to make it through this, and for it to be a positive thing. And so that's not, I don't say that with any glibness. That is, I acknowledge they're hard, but I've admired the culture in the Painter home, and that this is they've taken those things and made them a benefit and a blessing to their family.
You know, that's why we're adding all kinds of new courses on the family. You know, I think the greatest compliment I ever got from my father-in-law is that my wife and I were a good team. And that's what we're trying to create here. And so we're going to have all kinds of wonderful classes on family relationships, family and marriage, and things like that, because this is why this is so important. So stay tuned, everybody. We're going to come back for another segment in just a second. We're going to say goodbye to our friends around the world, but we'll be